All right, we are live. What's going on, everybody? Let me get this tweeted out here. Da, da, da. All right. Hope everybody had a blessed weekend and had a good trading day on Friday, and looking forward to a new trading week this week. This time it's a full week for us, and futures are up, futures are green. So heading into Monday, we'll see how this holds overnight. I've got the futures pulled up right here on the S&P futures, and obviously we got gapped up, had a huge push to the upside, and then kind of came back in. And if y'all remember the other day, we did a quick lesson on the linear regression channels, and so I have this one pulled up. I extended a little bit to include Friday's data, and lo and behold, our gap up went right to the oversold area, or I'm sorry, the overbought area of the linear regression channel. And it's kind of holding the top of that channel right here at the upper Keltner channel too. So we'll see if it wants to just correct and hit the mid Bollinger Band, mid Keltner here, and kind of linger back up, or will it work its way back to the mid linear regression channel? It's kind of looking at some of the MACD RSI overlay. I've got the purple line as the RSI. So earlier it was this is the 50-minute time frame, but earlier it was overbought, kind of came back in and overbought. It's actually showing some bearish divergence there, with the MACD starting to give a little death cross here, with its 9 and 26 moving averages, and the histogram is starting to turn red. So let's see. We'll see how it holds up overnight. But overall, I'm feeling pretty bullish, because let's go to the SPX. SPX was actually really interesting on Friday. You guys might recall that I tweeted out, a couple times, and 2 days ago we saw this this channel. We took this trade for the $50,000 challenge, and this was a real nice trade from this bear flag top all the way here, and then the bear flag broke, and then nice trade from here to here. Lots of big percentage move on those, and then we gapped up the next day, right? And look, that channel, this channel still stayed in place here, and look what it did. It came all the way up, tagged the top of that channel once, twice, and then thrice, and then from there kind of came back down, and then the bottom of the channel, then what used to be support, served as resistance, and it hit there once, twice, didn't quite get there, and then the China talk kind of came in, and then boom, like that. So could have been a decent trade, from here to here, but would have been really tough to the theta would have just destroyed it, from 12 o'clock all the way to 2:45. So it would have been rough, but the setup was really good, and the movement was good. So that's kind of that there. And let's take a real quick look here on the daily. So we had a kind of a target pivot area here. I've got a couple other estimates coming up, but ultimately I've got long term. I'm just here I'm showing a 1, 2, 3, 4 potential 5 wave up here. As we work our way up from the December lows, and then all the way up through the median of the pitchfork, and now here we are approaching the top of the pitchfork. And this pitchfork is really big. Let me zoom out right here, and you'll see that was the one that was built for basically all of 2018, right? And so with a peak here in the beginning in January, to the lows in April, to the highs in October, right? So this is a big range pitchfork right here, and it ended up serving really well, right? Because at the December lows, it was right here at the low end of the pitchfork, and I was expecting a pivot here because I thought this was going to be a wave 4, but at this point, I mean, who knows what it's working on, really, right? This still could be a wave A, and then a B, and then a C, and we're not quite halfway through the channel yet, but this area right here, which I've got labeled as wave 5, could potentially be a pivot point, and so we'll have to see. So a lot of folks, are talking about this 2820 area, and it kind of makes sense, right? So we have the pitchfork top, but it's also finding confluence with a reaction line area, which is right here, right? The Fibonacci fan line, which kind of crosses through this. So basically this whole triangle area right here. And then this pink line right here, not the dotted one, but the solid one, is a trend line from the December lows. And so, that also kind of intersects with this area. So there's a lot of, I think there's gonna be a lot of tension in this area. There's gonna be a battleground, and I think it is possible that we could pivot there. So I'm thinking we might pivot down a little bit, and then maybe bounce off of this smaller, pitchfork line, and then possibly back up to retest the top of the that whole 2018 channel, which is up here, right? And maybe all-time highs, right? Because a lot of folks are talking about 3,000, so it is possible, right? So, or it could of course change. If China news, China trade news becomes bad, or whatever the case is. And that's the thing, is right now we're depending mostly on we don't have really earnings really to drag to push this market. So it's all going to be news driven, right? So any of these trade updates and things like that, I think are going to either give a boost or a headwind to the market. So just pay attention to that. But right now, I'm bullish until we get to this 2820 area, and the futures right now are hanging out right at that whole number, that 280000. So we'll see how long that holds, through the night, and where we end up tomorrow. So that kind of gives that as a look. So for tonight, the technical concept that I wanted to go over is called the awesome oscillator. And yes, it is a thing. It is a of course I'll have the the link to a different description in the description box, right? That you guys can use as a reference. But this was created by Bill Williams, and what he used is two different moving averages to calculate it. So it's an oscillator, right? So it kind of shows you potential changes of trend, right? And so we know that there's the golden cross, right? Where the lesser MA goes over the longer term MA, and there's a death cross where it's vice versa, right? Where it's the same, whether either it crosses up as the golden cross or down as the death cross, right? And so so here what I've shown is the 5 is the yellow, okay? So this is your 5 MA, and the purple, right, is your 34, okay? And so just to kind of show you what happens here, we could look right here, and I've got SPX pulled up, but it's fine. So here, it should be crossing up, right? So the 5 MA is going to golden cross right here, and you can see the oscillator is golden crossing here, right? And so the longer the distance is, right? So between the two, right, the bigger the bars are, right? So just like the MACD and a lot of the other oscillators we look at, but this uses these two specifically, and of course you can customize it too. But this is the defaults, and this is he found these to be very effective, right? So some people like the 13 and the 50, so you could use it for those, right? But for the meantime, these are potentially effective, right? Because of the prior research that was done. Anyway, so how do you trade it, right? Well, you could trade as soon as it crosses over it, of course. So that's the first way to look at it. So here we've got a golden cross right here, and so we have you can see the oscillators. It goes from, this is the zero line right here, so it goes from negative to positive, right? You got a trend change, and we can use other tools such as this pitchfork level, right? Well, we see that crossing the positive side, so not a bad spot to go long, right? And this is the hourly time frame, by the way. But here we go. It went all the way from 2670-ish to 2780. So that was a pretty good move right there, right? So that's one way. Another way you can see here is this cross here, as it goes from the from positive to negative. And so you kind of look here, right? It worked. It bounced. This would have been a tough trade, no doubt, right? So it was a gap down, and it kind of came up, tested the gap, and then kind of went down again. So it would have been choppy with options, but ultimately it came up and then retested this kind of pitchfork level, and then really went down, right? So so this was a retest here, and then this cross right here ended up being the straw that broke the camel's back on the SPX at that point, right? So so you could look at those, look at the crossovers as a potential trade. There's a couple other methods. One is the looking to see whether you're in an uptrend or a downtrend, and trading in the direction of the trend by looking for dips, right? So these are like little saucer dips right here, and looking for a potential change. So here, this one obviously didn't, it would have worked out a little bit right here. You would have, basically been trading into a gap, so it had been pretty choppy, before potentially getting stopped out. Obviously, this is just an indicator, so it's not any guarantee that it's going to work. But you can see here, right? It was in an uptrend, pulled back, right? So if you buy the dip here, right, you can see where the oscillator, and then where it goes dips and then goes red to green, that's a potential buying point. So, but at the same time, you could have done it when we were negative, right? And so here in a downtrend, right? Nice pullback, goes from green to red in this case, and again here is another potential short. Now, obviously we've gotten chopped out, but if you were able to hold and go bullish and bearish divergences, and honestly, different stocks, as we've talked about before, trade differently, right? So SPX is not necessarily the best for this, but as you can see, a couple of these the crossovers seem to work really well on the SPX for this particular setup. But here you could look for a bullish divergence by looking from peak to peak here, or trough to trough. And so all you would do is, essentially, oh dear, hit my volume by mistake. All right, so you do this, and you click. You just you can see that there's a bullish divergence here, right, from trough to trough. And so basically after this break here, once it turns green, you're kind of preemptive before the crossover here, so you would have caught kind of in this area, and you'd get a little bit better of a move there. The rest of it, you don't see too many. This could have been a potential one here, but it failed, obviously. I mean, well, if you caught here, you could have caught a little bit of a dip. So that was from 27.32 to 26.91. So that's not horrible. All right, so it's still a pretty good trade right there. See that? Right where that went down. Okay, and then didn't see one here, and then maybe it's kind of working on a a potential up here, which would be interesting, right? So we've got a little bit of divergence going on, almost like a three-way trend line. So watch for a breakout, obviously, but if it fails and continues to the downside, what I would do when it gets this close to the bottom is look to see if you can see a crossover to the downside and maybe a little more reasonable of a bar. But at this point, if it breaks out through it, then that would be bullish, just like on RSI. Okay, so that pretty much covers that. And like I said, this doesn't work for for all stocks. It does seem to look pretty good on the SPX, but that's up to you to see how it trades on your favorite tickers. Tesla is another one where I think it trades pretty well on. One of my Twitter friends had mentioned this in the past, and didn't know what the Awesome Oscillator was. I thought it was a custom-made one, but still, obviously, it works really great. And so, again, it depends how you trade. But here, we've got a golden cross right here as it goes long. So here we are on Tesla from here to here, right? So let's see if we can find a. Obviously this crossover right here, had a big gap, but had nice movement to the downside, right? And so that was another one. Then you had the golden cross right here. So it went red to green. This is another way you can kind of, look. You had two reds followed by a green. You could have tried to buy the dip right here, but here, this crossover ended up being pretty bullish, which corresponded to this golden cross and came all the way up to that level there. So Awesome Oscillator works really well in Tesla. You'll have to experiment, with your favorite stocks to see how it works. And I did look at a few of them where it wasn't, perfect, but certainly it's a good tool to add to your repertoire. I do want to add one more thing. As you guys know, I've been really enjoying using the Chaikin money flow, and so I'm going to add that real quick. I'm just going to go to Edit Studies. I'm going to just type in Chaikin, CHAI, and I'm just going to click Chaikin money flow. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to embed it over it, and I'm going to make it 2 just so you can see it. And apply, and you'll see it pop up here in the bottom, right? So remember, this has got its own zero line. In fact, maybe I can edit that so it's got a better. Let me see if I can edit it so the zero line is a different color. Yeah, zero line is red, which the other one is. So I'll make it, purple, something like that. So I click OK. Okay, there you go. So the purple one is for the Chaikin money flow. So obviously, remember when it's below the zero line, right? Money is flowing out of it, and when it's above it, money is flowing into it. For the most part, right? Theoretically, right? Because it's based on the volume. So at this point, you just kind of want to look and see. So here, this gap down, Tesla gap down pretty well at this death cross area, and then the Chaikin money flow crossed through its negative zone too. So this is a really good area to short, right? And then you can see, the money flow turns around and starts, volume starts picking up, moves to the upside. So right here, it breaks the zero line before, right? Before the Awesome Oscillator goes from negative to positive. So it's not a horrible place to consider taking along if you waited, here money flow is green, so you could have waited right here, and that would have been a nice trade to the upside from 291 all the way to 321. So when you add that on top of it, it gives you a better clue, right? So here, you might not necessarily want to go long even on this dip, right, because the money flow is negative. So at that point, it just gives you an added confirmation. So I like having this on my oscillators because it kind of tells me like, maybe I don't want to go long because the money's flowing out of it, right? But here it's like, maybe I'll consider going long on this little dip right here because money is flowing into it. So just another tool that you can add to your toolbox. So at this point, if you guys aren't busy watching the Oscars, if you have any questions or comments or chart requests, please feel free to put those in the chat box, and we'll get through as many as we can. I'd like to wrap up by 10 o'clock so everybody can get a good night's sleep and we can have a nice rest before our trading week this week. 503-4964. What's going on, man? How you doing? Good to see you. Andrew, what's going on, buddy? Good to see you. Hope you're having a good weekend. NetFry, always a pleasure, my friend. Clayton, what's up, buddy? Good evening. Ready for our red week? I know, right? Is this finally the red week? We shall see. So, still feeling a little bullish in tomorrow. There's probably gonna be a lot of positive trade talk and all that stuff, so we might get some follow through. Harvey, good to see you. Sorry I missed your message there. Prayer Kid, what's going on, buddy? Have a good night. Good night. PDX, what's going on, man? What do I think of Baidu? Yeah, so Baidu is I put that up on Twitter earlier. It's interesting, right? So let me wait till this thing pulls up here. I know it's there somewhere. I don't know why my thinkorswim's been doing this. It's like I've been having to go back in and edit the settings on price from manual to auto. And then there we go. Anyway, really odd. But anyway, maybe I have it set as a default. Maybe I can just save this workspace here. 1 second. Okay. Yeah, so it's in the middle of this cloud right here. And, I guess I don't know. It doesn't really say if the earnings were good or not. But, it did gap up, so you would presume they were okay. Kind of ticked up a little bit, and then boom, like all the way back down. Crossed the pitchfork level. It's in the middle of the cloud here on the daily. And look what it did. It pierced the 50 moving average, right? And then pierced the low end of the cloud, and then came back in really quickly right at the low Bollinger Band too, right? So it's now resting right below the 50 moving average. So to me, that's bearish, right? Of course, it's bearish engulfing too, but it's hard because of the low, the lower wick, right? The lower shadow of the candle. But I was going to say lower bottom stick there, but anyway. But yeah, so it's tough to get follow through right there. But I would look for the close level and just see where if we gap up a little bit on trade news, and then just kind of see if it can break out down through the cloud, right? So I find it interesting how the Keltner here has kind of curved, right? The Keltner is a little bit. It's just interesting how they're divergent, right? So I would keep an eye on the Bollinger Band versus the Keltner on this, and then see if it can push back down, right? So in generally, I've been overall bullish on Baidu just because of its weekly chart, right? The weekly had back in December had crossed below the lower Bollinger Band, and RSI had gotten oversold on the weekly for the first time in a long time, right? So I was looking to do a long setup, but I did want to wait until earnings. So we'll see. We'll see if we get any follow through there. Yeah, so obviously it's going to be very sensitive to the China news. So ISRG consolidating above 550 looks ready to rocket this week. Let's take a look. ISRG can move for real. That's the one. I always call it a big boy stock, but it's only because the spread. It's obviously expensive. The spreads are so nasty on this thing, right? So just be really careful with it. But yeah, I mean, it is it is looking pretty bullish, right? Doji day, but if anything, this is one to trade with spreads, with verticals, just to be safe, just because of how nasty the spreads themselves are on the options or on the common itself. So I've got a trend line up here. So like I said, it's it's kind of at the upper Keltner right here with a bit of a southern doji. So look to see it might come back in and test these levels, or look, possibly some more consolidation, and then wait till like these bands start pointing back up, and then it might give a little bit of a push. But here we've got a congestion zone, so at a trend line. So if it does pull back to 535, I would look to potentially go long there. Chris, what's going on, man? Haven't seen you in a while. Hope you're doing good. When the BH50K trades are a go, I need a little more info on what to look for via the TD app. I'm new to options for SPX on TD, but seems much better than art. Yeah. So absolutely. So just, I'll continue to make the announcements when I take a trade. And SPX, it's basically like trading anything else. So you just got to look for the SPX ticker. Yeah, they're all there. So if I go to SPX right now, just here, obviously if you're using the your phone, it's going to be a little bit different, but it's similar to trading any options on it. It's you'll have to get used to it, but I just am so much more comfortable using the Thinkorswim platform. It just is easier. And then, like you said, you could set stops. So, I got stopped out on that one on Thursday. It was a good profit, but I was like, oh, I'll set it $1. Then it grabbed it right away. But there's more to it. But it's pretty cool. So you get your calls and your puts, and if you buy one just using the platform itself, you could buy a single, and then you can set a stop on it if you want to. Just right click on it, buy custom with stop, right? You could even do a trailing stop, right? You could click that and make it a trail stop, so you could trail it by 50 cents, or you could mark it in, right? Make your market at trail stops. You get in at 290, you get 50 cents. So if it really runs, right, up like really quick, then you can take your eye away from it and still make some money out with your trailing stops. And it doesn't have to be 50 cents. It could be you can make it a percentage. Like here, you just click on that a couple times. You could trail it by 1%, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So it is much better than using Robinhood. So Shirley, what's going on? Kyle G, what's happening? I hope you had a good weekend too, man. Jimmy, can we look at M, Autodesk, Macy's, Autodesk, and JD? Yep, let's take a look. So Macy's, I'm gonna go to our favorite hourly time frame on the bar charts here. Let's see. Okay, so Macy's is got earnings coming up, and it has been hugging this volumetric level right here in this whole channel. So see how it holds this 23.95, right? And if it undershoots it before earnings, like we said, we're pretty oversold here on the RSI. Might look to do a long. If it does beat on earnings, right, you could see it at least testing this 25 area. If it breaks out of there, it could go, certainly go higher, right? So it had a, this move down here has been kind of consolidating in this channel. So I would just look and see. Let me do a. Let's do a. It sure looks like it's ready to reverse. It's been beaten up pretty bad. I think overall it's a pretty good company too. So just looking at the Fibonacci fan line right here, just to kind of see. I mean, it's got room to the upside. It's got this big volume pocket right there. So if the earnings are good, this is one that, if you trade a 15 orb or something like that, say it gaps up above this volumetric resistance, that's one I would look for a gap and go where it starts to fill that area right there. So especially if they give good guidance and things like that. Autodesk, yeah, so that popped up on one of my scanners recently. I didn't really examine it too much, but yeah, it's looking pretty good. It's got earnings coming up. Let's see, from here to here, it's got room above. It's got a lot of support below. This has been interesting since since it kind of got some recent news and all that from being on the S&P. So looks kind of vulnerable up here. I don't really have any other comments other than that. Just to keep an eye on it, after earnings, and possibly look to trade the 15 orb on it. JD, again, and I've seen a lot of stuff on Twitter saying that it's looking like it's going to break out. It's been hanging around this level right here for a very long time. I know it's got earnings. I think the biggest issue with this company is the CEO. I think he's been up to a lot of stuff, and he seemed to have gotten off a lot on some pretty major issues. And I think until they admit that they need a new CEO, this thing's going to probably stay down. But we'll see. I mean, who knows? It could run with the rest of the China stocks. But as you can see, it really doesn't move that much, even with positive China news. To me, I'd rather watch something like IQ or Neo. IQ had a huge breakout the other day on earnings, right? Broke out of this channel, and it's just super strong. So that's one to look for a continuation on. And Neo, I think, had a really positive write-up on it, or a positive commentary on it recently on CNBC or something like that, where the where they said it's going to destroy Tesla or something like that. So yeah, so just kind of keep an eye on this. It's at volumetric resistance right here, so maybe another pullback and then a break. This one does have earnings coming up in March. I've got to have a feeling that they're actually going to beat this time, but we'll see. Okie dokie. Mo, what's going on, man? Data is a good stock to keep on the watch list this week. Okay, yeah, absolutely. I mean, Data is a good one to trade. I think it's potential move. So let's take a look here. Yeah, I mean, totally. We looked at this not too long ago. Had a nice trend line coming up. I'm going to extend that to the right here just so you can see it. Okay, so it's kind of above that right now at volumetric resistance. So I agree. So if it comes back and tests like this 129 area, I think you could see a jump. Let me add a fib fan line from here to here. Yeah, I mean, I think it looks. I think I have to agree with you that it does look. It does look bullish, and it got through earnings. Yeah, I mean, it beat on earnings and it gapped down on earnings, and it's already filled that gap. So yeah, I think long term would probably be pretty good, and it's a good sector, just like Twilio. So 503. Let's take a look. TWLO. Yeah, this is looking great. So this is this has been very bullish for us. We looked at a potential ABC correction here. So it might be working on a. How can I activate this here? Drawn here maybe. So thought we had like a wave 5 up ABC, and now we could be working on a new impulsive wave up here. So possibly like 1, 2, and then maybe kind of working on 1, 2, 3, get some more steam. It had earnings that were a little bit of a miss, so we'll see how it holds this area. I would look to see if it does pivot here, and then it might come back in. And then Huya. It looks like it. Oh, look at that! You gotta love when that happens. Let me add a couple more days to this. Really, 90 days? I'm not seeing any more in this. Hold on, give me a second. This is 90 days. I need to add more time. Let's go 360 days. There we go. All right, that looks better. Yeah, we recently drew fib fan line from the highs to the lows. I mean, this one almost looks like Bitcoin, right? So you had this huge move up and then just never really broke out. Tried here, right? And then kind of came back down, hit this low at 1444, which is really close to its IPO level. It held that really well, and that was 1, 2, and I was looking at 1, 2, 3. So this could be our 3 here. Now it's interestingly enough, right? It held this Fibonacci fan line, came back in, it pushed up, probably with IQ news, right? So hit this Fibonacci fan line. So I would look maybe a potential pullback here. Back to 18, and then see it hold, which is also volumetric support. See how it holds that level, and then maybe a boost on earnings. Could finally get it back up, into this 30 level. So that does look pretty interesting to keep an eye on for sure. Jimmy, hope you had a great weekend too, and an awesome week coming ahead. Chris, so yeah, let's check out Microsoft. Yeah, you got some of the mega cap stocks here. Let's take a look. Gosh, Microsoft's been strangely hanging out in that channel, hasn't it? So this was one we looked at the other day when we were looking at the linear regression channel. So I'm just going to kind of keep these up. I'm going to send this one to the right. So you can see here, I've done like a little bit of a wave count, 1, 2, 3, maybe 4, kind of working on 5. Very interesting that this 5 corresponds not only with the pitchfork top, but also volumetric resistance and then the top of this regression channel. So if anything, just watch and see if it pivots here and then kind of comes back into like 109. Microsoft can move, right? It's not it's not beyond moving. It's just that I don't know, it just doesn't seem to be as hot as it was a little whiles ago. But definitely worth keeping an eye on. Apple, on the other hand, is finally starting to get some positive news back in it. So so we will see how this behaves. I do like to keep an eye on Apple. Let me remove these Fibonacci's just to. What have I done? There, remove. Okay, so yeah, so Apple's just been in this huge consolidation pattern here. You can see I've drawn this congestion zone box because this is really representing really good support right now. So it's sort of trying to creep its way up. If it can, it's got some volumetric resistance here at 174, and then it might get up to this this pitchfork level here. And it needs to really break out. It needs to finally get back above 180. And if it could do that, you'd probably see some consolidation again, and then maybe a push back to 190, and maybe get this stock alive again. So it really needs some more positive news. But yeah. So but good ones on both of those. Dark Horse, what's going on, man? Yeah, let's check out CMG. Hard to believe that Nasty Burrito Company is a $600 stock, but it is what it is, and it's fun to trade, right? So this was the breakout level. I think these two purple lines here represented the 15 orb on day one. It seems to have held those levels right now. Now you've got a lot of consolidation, right? So the bigger the I can't remember what it is. Like the bigger the area, the bigger the air. But anyway, yeah, it's kind of consolidating a little bit here, a bit of a a bull flag, type situation, or pennant, type situation. So we could see a break to the upside or the downside. It has been pretty heavily supported by the 15 orb from the gap up. So we'll see. Maybe a breakout over like 605 could give another push, but a breakdown below 595 could possibly retest the 580 levels on that one. And Tesla, we just kind of took a look at that right now, but I do want to let's go ahead and analyze and see where it's at on the because I know it does trade up well with the awesome oscillator. So let's take a look here. Chaikin money flow has now started to point upward. We've gone from red to green here, but keep in mind these are still both below their zero lines, which means a reversal is possible. But I would wait and see if we could get a breakthrough here on the awesome oscillator, and then let this Chaikin money flow get positive too for a potential push to the upside. I know they're working on it. They're always trying to do more. So to see kind of how it holds these trend lines, and see how if we can get the moving averages to kind of go with some money flowing in, stuff like that. So, but it does seem to be supported kind of in this 290 area. So, kind of check that out. Christopher, market is dumping. Cool. That's a good thing. So let's just go look at the ES real quick. Let's see what we can see. I guess it was respecting that. Nice. Yeah, we're gonna see a lot of this. A lot of new. Look at that nice red bar right there. Right, look at that. Right to the linear regression. We're just talking about that. Right to the center of that. The linear regression channel, the mean of all these levels. So it's consolidating right here right now. So I don't know. They'll probably keep it positive, I think, overnight. But that was a nice push to the downside right there. Good catch. Justin, what's going on, man? We're learning about various candlestick patterns, liking them more than indicators. Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean, you get to the heat of, right? All indicators are based on on price and volume, right? So if you go to the source, you can learn a lot more. So yeah, if you go back through my old videos too, you can see, I did a bunch of stuff on some candlesticks in the past. You can just kind of go through there. There's a whole bunch of, candlestick setups that are, a lot of it, comes from Steve Nissan, from the candlestick book that you're looking at. So yeah, it's solid, man. And thanks for sharing all your stuff. You get some great catches, and definitely keep posting those, man, because they help everybody. Netfry, can you check, what's up, buddy? Can you check Boeing in AW and CM setup? All right, let's go to BA. Yeah, I think I know. I think you're saying like look at it with Awesome and Chaikin. Is that what you're saying? Okay, so yeah, we'll take a look at that. So let me remove this, and let's see. It is still looking, bullish. So here we have this nice dip right here. So I like that, and I like how Chaikin money flow is pushing back up again. So, 424 was a key level for me. It would have been a good short, intraday Friday, but then it kind of came back up again to 424. So, I think it kind of met its goal of price there. And so, like you could see, I like this dip, and I like the Chaikin money flow going up. So Boeing is, definitely looking bullish. I don't know when this thing's going to stop, but it is still going. So very nice. And Merritt, there you go. You just got some Boeing with it, right, too. So Shirley, everybody, we got Shirley with awesome levels as always. So we'll just run through those, but definitely snapshot those because she's usually right. KMI. Very nice here. So nice push up. I think you're right there. We did the fib fan lines the other day, and is still looking pretty strong. Oracle. Is it possible that Oracle could keep going up? I guess it is. Checking money flow looks good. Let's take a look here. Let's look at our levels. Let's get a fib fan up there from the low to the high. We'll keep an eye on this one. But yeah, I think you're probably right. Obviously very bullish behavior as it's gotten through the volumetric levels. Andrew, what's going on, man? We looked at iSurge, so let's take a look at Mo. Mo, smoke if you got them. Yeah, I mean, I kind of have these old fib lines up here. You can see they're respecting a lot of those levels, but let me remove that right now. And so we'll just kind of look at where we are from the low here, 42, kind of up to this peak right here. But it did get through this volumetric level pretty well. It looks like it's kind of working its way back up possibly to that 54 area. And then surely we've got PayPal. Yeah, PayPal's looking good. I think this came up on my my weekly scan too. So yeah, I'm definitely looking bullish. Overall, lots of bullish behavior, like kind of everything. And yeah, it did give us an inside week this week with a kind of more of a hammer type style, right? No, really, barely any upper shadow, slight lower shadows. It's more of a spinning top style, but very bullish. And I would look for a breakout there if we can get over that 96.04. It might come up to the top of this pitchfork. Test your 100 level at the top of the pitchfork or the upper Celt. Missing stuff. All right, there we go. LLY. Bullish, nice bullish Yuri right there. I broke out of that trend line that we were looking at, so this kind of rising wedge, kind of broke to the upside 124, so it might get some follow through too, like you're saying. AVP. This is your Avon products. Nice big move last week. This is even after the earnings week. So, it looks like, Avon calling back in business, right? So you've got your weekly 200 right here at $3.65. So, yeah, you're right. You're all over that. Intel. Solid. Nice break through the weekly cloud last week, and then, or 2 weeks ago. And then, nice spinning top follow through with a potential back up, like you're saying. And Chris, what's going on, man? Have a good night. Oh, thanks, buddy. Yeah, appreciate it. Yeah, so guys, in case you haven't seen on Twitter, I'm just finished writing 2 books over the weekend that I've been working on for a while, and so just kind of in the editing phase right now. I'm gonna release those soon. I think they're gonna be fun. Let's try to make those a bestseller on Amazon. I'm gonna put a sweet deal out there and all that stuff. So, but there's got some really good information on. I think you guys will find useful. And the other one's just gonna be really help everybody with trading. And Brandon, what's going on? Oh, it's cool. You're late, man. You can always go back and watch again, right? So I wanted to put UPS push way down to mid B at the open. Curious on Friday. Curious if it was a shakedown. No news. Push back up. Okay, so remember UPS is we had a double inside day on it too a couple days ago. So let's kind of see how it was behaving. So I see here it goes again. It's not showing it. I need to go to settings and price axis, that is auto. I don't know why it has a manual. Okay, so this is really interesting, right? So these levels are really key, right? So we had a double inside day a couple days ago, right? So it ended up being several strategies. If you guys seen on Twitter, we've talked about it a bunch, right? It opened inside the range, and then it finally, you could have followed the VWAP up on that one. So you're at 110, nice break all the way up to 112, and here's your 200 moving average, right? Well, it seems like it wasn't really happy with the price discovery that it was doing that way, right? So the next day, right, opened, right, and then just flushed into the close. So, came all the way down, to this, this low mid Keltner, right? The mid Kelt, and then bounced back up, right? So right now, like I said, these levels right here are really key. So what I would do is draw kind of a congestion zone area, kind of like right in here, and then just see how it handles these levels, tomorrow. This area might serve as resistance. You have the 5 MA that's kind of pointing down. It could, death cross over the 10 MA. Let's take a look at it on the with our awesome oscillator too. I don't know. According to volume, right, it looks like money is flowing into it. That's now positive. So I would wait and see if if this goes green here, right? So if this again golden crosses back over here, you're probably going to be right back up in this congestion zone area. So you really need a breakout over 111, 111.50, to attempt to move any higher. So very interesting, and we'll see how this this ends up playing out. So so mostly observing, but kind of keep an eye on a couple of these things that might help you out. Diazu, what's going on, man? TTD. Huge move the other day, and guys, this should have been on the orb list, but let's go. Let me just show you the 15. TTD can really move, right? So had a huge gap up, and then look at that, it was right into this volumetric channel right here. So as it broke over 192, see ya, all the way up to 200. It's a nice 8-point move from there off of the 15 orb, and that 15 orb, look at that, it was right at volumetric resistance. So not super easy to trade, but definitely a nice move. I mean, who doesn't like 8 points on a Friday? Totally was not on my radar, although it should have been, because it can move, but it is tough to trade. And TLRY, so on Monday I would just look at the 30-minute orb on TTD, and then let's take a look at TLRY. Lots of cloud resistance right there, but it did break out over it after hours. Let's see how it's looking on the daily. Here we go again. Just automatic. It must be saved from the last time I used it, but yeah, really interesting. Here's your 50 moving average. It is respecting it. You've got it pretty much a doji over it. So as long as it doesn't take out these lows, I would say as long as it doesn't take out 77.25 or get below 77, it could get a bullish move up to mid BB at 83 and then possibly up to 85. And good night, Nefry, man. Always appreciate you, buddy. And then KHC. Let's take a look at that. This is our Kraft Heinz. So at this point, I would just watch the 30-minute orb on Monday to see if you can get some sort of some action on it, right? So the 15 was, let's see, hit a low of 35 and then it went down. So basically a 50-cent move. I mean, even if it is gapping down, it is still Kraft, right? So it's kind of a boring stock. But watch your 30-minute orb on Monday and see if you can get a break or something like that to one of the other ends. So Brandon, appreciate you, man. Just no time, but I love it so much that I could write really quickly, so it's always fun. But appreciate everybody. Everybody have a good night, and I'll tweet out some game plan ideas and things like that. And I'll see you on Twitter tomorrow, and we'll talk tomorrow night. And have a great trading day tomorrow. All right, be safe, and God bless. Talk to you later.